Hello, everyone. I feel like the Pope here. Hello. Can you hear me? Yes? Nice. Thanks for joining me in this talk. I'm a bit late. That's not very usual for a Swiss guy. And here in Switzerland, at a Swiss conference, even more. But very happy to talk to you about Ethereum today. We just announced Lightning, so we have some credit from the Bitcoiners now, so we can I can do some more bad jokes. Now, of course, it's going to be about BTC DCA NOW. Why now? And why Bitcoin is the best asset, basically, to do DCA, which means dollar cost averaging, of course, and why time in the market is better than timing the market. I think if you take one message out of this session here, then it's time in the market is better than timing the market, and do just regular small long-term investments like DCA, dollar cost average, can go a much longer way than trying to time the market and trade and speculate, etc. Maybe quickly about myself, for those who don't know me yet. Who is this 12-year-old guy here on stage? Now, I'm actually 30 already. I turned 30 like 2 months after I got into the Forbes 30 under 30 list last week, so I'm very proud of that. But I did study business administration and psychology here in Switzerland at the University of Bern, and I am kind of an entrepreneur. I founded different companies, all in kind of the Bitcoin scene, because I'm a fanatic about Bitcoin since I learned about it in 2015. Created this one company in the middle, Bravis, where we advised financial institutions about Bitcoin and crypto as well, because they want to learn about everything. And then out of this, we did CCFE, Certified Crypto Finance Expert, which is now the leading education provider and certification provider as well for the banking industry in Switzerland. So more than 700 bankers have done this education. It's a 3-day course. You can do it online, offline. And they get a certificate and pay a lot of money for it. But also they get orange pilled in these 3 days, which is the good part. And then last but not least, obviously Relay, also founded a bit more than 3 years ago, which is Europe's #1 Bitcoin app made in Switzerland. It's the easiest way how Europeans can get onboarded to Bitcoin with their dirty fiat. And that's basically us. As said, we are around for a bit more than 3 years, founded together with my co-founder and CTO Adam, who's also here, and our CFO and our CMO. Actually, our whole leadership team, fucking amazing, is here, and a lot of our team and our squad as well. So we're quite of a big crowd now. The whole community. We're a small team of 22 people, but then we have a squad of almost 100 people that are kind of an extension of our team. We have more than 30,000 followers on Twitter, 250,000 app downloads now, etc., etc. So I think this problem, which is buying Bitcoin, is still very hard if you're not a finance or a tech nerd, is really an important one to solve, and we are solving this. The reason is the reason for only 4% of the people being in Bitcoin now, it's really just a very small niche, is I think mainly because it's too complicated and it's not user-friendly for people to get into Bitcoin. If you want to buy Bitcoin today, very tedious onboarding processes, complicated user interfaces, counterparty risk and stuff like FTX can happen to you, etc. And if you have problems, you get very bad customer support. That leads to people just being stuck in the process, and if they are successful, it takes them 2 to 3 days to get their first Bitcoin, which is for most of the people too much if you just want to buy, $100 of Bitcoin to see how it works. And that's what we try to solve. With our app, within 1 minute, you can actually buy and hold your Bitcoin. You can also set up a savings plan. You can do this from $10 already within minutes without any complicated registration or verification. And you can do this 24/7 with instant payment methods as well. And you get the sats directly, or the Bitcoin, directly into your non-custodial wallet. So you never have counterparty risk. We never hold your funds. You can take control of your own future. And that's how we want to contribute in the next 10 years. And we clearly believe that in the next 10 years, more than 50% from the close to 5% that we have now, more than 50% of the people will own Bitcoin. The users love us, which is great. So as said, more than 250,000 app downloads, around 80,000 active users, and every fourth of these active users also actively referring with their ref code and making some sats at the side. But basically, it's the easiest way how you can orange pill people in Europe as well. We have excellent Trustpilot reviews and very good reviews on the App Store. But what's really interesting to us, and our marketing team did some survey, which is called the PMF survey, Product Market Fit Survey, with more than 1,000 active users. So it was a survey in the app, and asked them this very prominent question of how would you feel if from tomorrow onwards you could not use Relay any longer. And this really gives you an indication, the reply to this really gives you an indication of how bad people want to use you and how much they like the app. And the average is like 40%. So with 40% or more, basically you can say, okay, we have achieved product market fit. People really want this and are willing to pay for this. We actually have a much higher score of around 65%. So, and also many say that they would be at least somewhat disappointed. Almost no one says they would be not disappointed at all, which is a very good and promising fact, of course. We're happy about this, but still we are working on the product a lot to make it even better. So that's like the million-dollar question, why Bitcoin and why only Bitcoin? A lot of investors, for example, are asking us this question. And we have thought a lot about this question, obviously in the last 3 to 4 years, but even before when we got into Bitcoin and the whole crypto stuff. I mean, obviously, as we all did, probably we started learning about Bitcoin, then we invested in like 100 ICOs and other shitcoins before we then got back to understanding that actually Bitcoin is really the number one savings technology and the best assets to store purchasing power on the long run. Compared to all the other crypto assets, but also compared to any other asset basically that you have in the world. But now, what's the summary of why Bitcoin? Why not anything else? We always need to start with the problem here. And I know most of you guys are Bitcoiners anyway, so I don't really need to explain you why Bitcoin is great. But I think that what we need to explain better to newcomers is what the problem is, because how normal people, not us, normal people, how they think is in terms of problems, and then they want to find solutions. You cannot just take a solution and put it into anyone's throat. This doesn't work. We can go on and explain why Bitcoin is great and this and that technology, blah, blah. But if they don't understand the problem, then they will never understand and they will never want to use it. So the big problem, and that's where we should start the conversations with newcomers, always, we as Bitcoiners, is the current financial system is broken. And saving, you cannot really save anymore in this environment that we are at now, where we have inflation all over the world, eating away people's savings systematically over the years. And a very good tool or a very good method to explain this is the 72 rule. Who has heard of the 72 rule? Okay, 2, 3 people that attended my talk in Prague. But so it's basically, it's actually been invented for checking how or finding out if you have an investment and the current return on investment every year, how long does it take until you double your invested amount. But it also works the other way around. If instead of the ROI you take the inflation, so how your value shrinks, then you can use the same formula to find out how long does it take for your wealth or invested amount to be cut in half. And that's interesting to see and to illustrate the problem. So for example, you take Switzerland with a current inflation rate of 2.4%. You take 72 divided by 2.4 and you get 30. So it takes 30 years in Switzerland to cut your purchasing power in half. Now you can say it's bad, but you can live with it. Depending on if it's about buying a coffee, yes, then you can live with it. If it's about trying to save for a house, which usually takes 10, 20, or maybe even 30 years, then it's going to be hard, because when you're 20 and you start saving for a house, and then when you're 30 you have the money that you need for a house, but it's actually worth like the price of the house is now double that, it's not going to work, right? So for long-term big investments, this is already a big problem. Now, if we look at other countries, we don't have to go too far. For example, Germany, they have a 7.2% inflation rate a year now. So you take 72 divided by 7.2%, and you don't have to be a genius to find out that this equals 10. It's 10 years, and your wealth or your purchasing power of your money is basically cut in half. That's not a very long time. Now we go a bit further away to Argentina, where we have a 76% inflation rate. So it takes less than a year to basically cut your savings in half. And this is not how a financial system and a society should work, right? Society should be able to have an asset that they can store their purchasing power on the long run for their lives and also for their following generations, right? And that currently just doesn't work. Why does it not work? Is because central banks just keep printing more money to solve their problems, and the more money they print, obviously, the less this money is worth. And it's gotten really crazy in the last couple of years. Actually, in the last 3 years, 80% of all the US dollars that are in circulation today have been printed. 80%. And it's very obvious why we have these big inflation rates right now. You see that they're already for the last 10 to 20 years we had some issues, but now it's really gone out of control. And it's just to illustrate that here we totally trust a central party, a couple of old people that all should be retired anyway. They're all 65 or 70 years old, like Janet Yellen and Jerome Powell from the Fed and Christine Lagarde from the ECB, etc. They are making these decisions on how much to print and how much to devalue our money that we try to save our hard-earned value in, right? Now, on the other hand, you see this chart, and that's how it works with Bitcoin. And that's now getting into the solution. Why Bitcoin is the solution is that no one can just print Bitcoin. It's independent from central banks, and it has a very clear schedule of how the inflation works, how much more Bitcoins, how much more money is issued and printed. No one can just come and make a decision based on some economic factor or wars or pandemics or whatever and just print the shit out of it. So probably a lot of you guys know this, that we started in 2008 with 50 new Bitcoins issued every 10 minutes, and then every 4 years we have a halving, so 25 new Bitcoins every 10 minutes, and then 12.5. Now we're at 6.25, and the next halving will be beginning of next year, where we will then be at 3.175, etc., 125, etc., until in 2140 we'll be basically at zero, and then there will be 21 million Bitcoin and no more. This resembles more to, for example, in the physical world, gold. That's also why Bitcoin is called digital gold many times, and that's a metaphor that for newcomers is really understandable, because they know gold and they know that it has served as a great store of value for thousands of years. And so this can maybe help them also to relate on why Bitcoin is probably better and works better for storing their money than fiat money. And why is Bitcoin a better store of value? It's not dependent on any central party like central banks, but also, and this is not some invention of us, this is actually Fidelity, one of the longest standing and most established financial institutions in the US, managing trillions of dollars. They have come up with this comparison. They said, look, what is important kind of as a characteristic for money? Like, if we were to invent sound money and a great store of value, what would it need to bring with it? What characteristics? One is scarcity, divisibility, portability, basically the 7 that you see here. And that's now the framework we need to compare different sorts of money. And we have used in the last couple of thousand years as human beings many different ways to store value, right? We have used cattle, we have used diamonds, we have used salt, we have used certain stones, we have used many things. Now, gold has been really good for the last couple of thousand of years, and now we're basically using fiat. And if we compare this to Bitcoin, which we only have access to for the next since like 2008, then we actually see very like first principles thinking and very like rationally put that it's just the best savings technology that human beings have ever come up with, have ever invented, because it's super scarce. It's like fixed. There's only ever going to be 21 million. With gold, is also scarce, but you don't know how much actually there is on this planet, and we know that there's like billions times more in the universe of this thing. So at one point we will just find more and more of it. And fiat is even worse, because if in 3 years you can just print 80% of it, then well, it's not very scarce, right? It's easy to divide into small pieces and big pieces. It's very portable. It's easy to send from here to Senegal. You cannot do this with gold or fiat very easily, etc. So in all these characteristics that money needs to have, except the established history part, because it's only been around for a bit more than 10 years, but this will be solved just by time, right? It is actually the perfect store of value, and that's why we have seen the value grown in the last 10 years, and we will see the value also grow in the next 10 years as more and more people find out about this. So now that we know Bitcoin is a very good asset, we also know that, and that's one of the big criticisms that then comes usually from the people that you guys explain this to, is, okay, but it's very volatile. So we know that in the long term, this will go up, but in the short term, unfortunately, it's very volatile. It's actually, in that regard, the opposite of fiat currency as well. So Bitcoin is volatile in the short run, but it's going up in the long run, whereas fiat is maybe stable in the short run, but it's going down in the long run. So what do you want to use as savings technology, right? It's probably the first. And Bitcoin is rising in the long term. This we can also put into numbers if we look back. So in the last 10 years, it rose by 36,000%, on average of 70% every year. And we expect, or experts expect, that in the next 10 years, it's going to be even more so, like 10x, right? Now, the problem that a lot of newcomers see is that Bitcoin is volatile in the short term. So maybe you have some friends that have invested into Bitcoin or bought their first Bitcoin in the last couple of months or years, and they say, well, it took a big dive of 50% 4 times in the last 10 years. It went down actually 6% in the last 12 months, and it went down 60% since the last all-time high. So if you have someone who bought in here, then obviously he's down by a lot. Now the solution to this is called DCA, dollar cost averaging, because if you just tell people to not put all their money that they want to invest in Bitcoin in once in a lump sum purchase, but just to take small pieces and small trades, like $100 a week, for example, and dollar cost average into Bitcoin, this is a winning strategy. It doesn't matter how the market looks like. It doesn't matter what volatility you experience, because then if we simulate that, in the last 10 years, actually you would have done 2,000%. Still not as good as the 36,000% that you would get if you put in a lump sum trade 10 years ago, but it's decent, right? It's good. Everyone would be happy with it. Then in the last 12 months, remember that if you would have bought a year ago, you would be down 6%. Actually, if you just did dollar cost averaging for the last 2 months, you'd be up 6%. And since the last all-time high, you would have doubled your purchase amount, because yes, there was an all-time high, but then there was also an all-time low, not an all-time low, of course, but like a very low point of like 15K for quite some time. And there you would have bought a bit of Bitcoin every week. So the benefit of dollar cost averaging is that whenever the price is high, you buy a bit less. Whenever the price is low, you buy a bit more. And so your average price is getting lower and lower and lower. By the way, this is also what Michael Saylor does on the long run, right? Just with a bit more money than most of us. But in the long run, this will always work if you have a volatile asset that you know will go up in 10 years. right? So don't be afraid about volatility. Just, DCA and chill. No financial advice. So last but not least, now, why now? Why should people start now? I think we're in an inflection point, in a very special time in history, not only in Bitcoin history, but like in human history, where we have this new sort of money and savings technology emerge and develop. And already now, we have around 400 million Bitcoin users worldwide. This market with brokers and other startups and service providers already makes around 40 billion in revenue. Yet only 4% of the world is onboarded. And if you think that probably in the next couple of years this will double or triple, many people would expect to get more than 1 billion users, hundreds of billions of revenue, and high increasing penetration rate. The interesting thing is that if you compare this to the internet, which was another open source decentralized protocol just to share information or transfer information, now this is the same thing. It's an open source decentralized neutral global protocol for transferring value that is emerging. And so we can really see a clear parallels to the development of the internet and to the development of the Bitcoin network. And so measured by the amount of users, we are exactly 1998 now when it came to the internet. In the 90s, a lot of people already used the internet. I even used, I think, the internet in end of the 90s. Yes, 92. I was born in 92. I was early. My mom had a computer at home and everything, and I would be trying to send an email. And if you wanted to attach a picture, it took like 10 minutes. It worked. It took like 10 minutes to send the picture. That was like 1998. So that's where we are today. We're still super early. And why do I believe in 2024 will be a huge inflection point or a huge catalyzer? Remember, 1998 was before the whole .com bubble that came by in 2000 and popped in 2001. And I think there could be a massive uptick in price and activity and everything, just a massive bull market next year. Why? Because we have a lot of demand coming in, mainly from big money, through the Bitcoin spot ETF, which will, from BlackRock and other institutions, which will most likely be approved in Q1 next year. And almost at the same time, where there's more demand, we have less supply because of the halving that we've discussed before. And so demand higher, supply lower, what's going to happen to the price? Economics 101. And also we have elections. Actually, tomorrow we have the elections coming up in Argentina, where Javier Milei hopefully will get voted in, but also a lot of pro-Bitcoin candidates in the US and around the world, South America and everywhere, will be elected this next year. And so obviously this will all push more activity and more money in the end into Bitcoin. I really want to point out like how big I think this ETF announcement will be, or the ETF being approved. I talked to Eric Weiss, who is the guy who orange-pilled Michael Saylor, and he's like this 20-year Wall Street veteran. You should check out the podcast that I did with him. It was one of the best. And he is so super bullish about this, and also made me super bullish. One, because there are 10 of the biggest and most established financial companies or asset managers that have filed for an ETF, and they will be approved latest in March. And so 17 trillion is their assets under management. So they have clients that let their money be managed by them, worth 17 trillion. It's a lot of money. So even if only 1% of them would invest in their Bitcoin ETF, it would make a huge difference to the price and to the adoption of Bitcoin. Now it could be more, and it could be also more money. Not only people that they already have, but also new people could invest in these products. And the ETF is really the tool how that big institutions use to invest in Bitcoin. And one thing that many people forget is they are all earning their money by selling the ETF and by it being traded. So they have a big interest of selling this to people. And they have huge marketing and sales budgets to bring this to people. A lot of financial advisors and like a lot of customer relationship managers and a lot of people will work on selling these ETFs and at the same time educating people about Bitcoin. So I believe there's a huge, huge potential there that we all underestimate and that the world basically underestimates of how much money there could be, maybe not in the short term, but in the mid to long run, that will come into Bitcoin through this. Now, Bitcoin and DCA, again, to summarize, are, I think, the perfect match. And it's not only that, it's the best and most rational investment strategy that works with every, asset that is volatile in the short run, but going up in the long run. But it also, just from a human perspective, it gives you peace of mind. You don't have to worry about your money. You don't have to worry about fiat money sitting on your savings account being, devalued all the time. You don't have to worry about speculating and trading in the market so that you can earn back your inflation. You just have to set up a savings plan. It takes you like 1 minute, and then you just let it flow, and you sleep well, and it gives you peace. That's why I'm so passionate about it, and that's what we are working on at Relay with our app, with our private offering, with our business offering. We want to help everyone to get this and to get into Bitcoin so that they can sleep well. That's it. Thank you for listening. Now I'm on time, that's a very rare case, but we have another 15 minutes for questions if you want, and we have some merch here. So for the best question that is being asked, I will give away a $100 Relay branded Bitbox hardware wallet. There's also the famous When Lightning t-shirt that Adam just is wearing actually now and wore today for the big Lightning announcement. This is also very rare. Maybe Emo can also sign it, so it's even more valuable. Then we have some nice fisherman's hats and whatever, you can just take whatever. But only for good questions, especially the Bitbox thing. In the back, maybe?
Since we have the app in front of us, does the app allow to create DCA orders so I don't have to go through the app every week? And does it allow to do that in different currency? So can I have both dollars and euro?
Yeah. Exactly. That's basically what we are built for mainly. So it's very easy. You can download it, and from $10 already, within a minute, without big registration hassle, you can start buying Bitcoin. Either you do just a single buy, or you can set up a savings plan. You can say, look, please auto invest $50 a week. You can send the money via bank transfers. You can set up a savings a standing order on your bank, or you can use a credit card or Google Pay, Apple Pay. And then it's set up in 1 minute, and it just works, so you can forget about it. This is exactly what we are set to do and help people to do with this app. In terms of currencies, we currently support Euro and Swiss francs. That's it. But we are obviously adding more and more, hopefully next year. Do you fancy some merch? You want a Fisher hat or something? You can take one after. Okay.
Thank you. I was just wondering, how do you see the regulatory landscape, both in Switzerland and in Europe, going forward? Is it something you're optimistic about in terms of how clear it is for tax purposes and just moving forward generally in Switzerland and Europe?
Yeah, I'm actually quite even though I don't like this topic of regulatory, legal and compliance stuff, but I'm actually very optimistic, especially about MiCA. There's a new regulatory framework coming up. It's called MiCA, Markets in Crypto Assets. And it has been voted in this summer, and it will take now 18 months until end of next year, until it gets into effect. So from 1st January 2025, it will be in effect. And what it will do is it will basically unify the whole EU area in terms of how crypto and Bitcoin is regulated. So there's one set of rules, one license for companies to get, and then we can basically market in whole Europe, which we cannot do now. Now it's very fragmented, depending on which country you can do. You can be operational in some countries and not in others, and it's very fragmented. Now with MiCA, we will have this unified body of regulation. And in Switzerland, Switzerland is great already because the KYC AML requirements are quite low. That's also how we can do this, like up to 1K per day, 100K per year without any registration, etc. This will also fall under pressure a bit, and that's maybe the downside of also MiCA, is that it will be harder to do more privacy-oriented things. Like, for example, there will be no KYC and no AML things anymore. For every transaction, even if it's 10 or 20 bucks, you will need to be verified, etc. So it has pros and cons. But I think from a business point of view, it's definitely good. From a user's point of view, it will make things a little bit more complicated, but not too much, especially for us, for example, because we're Bitcoin only and non-custodial. So as long as you don't engage in other coins that are securities, or if you don't hold money on behalf of the users, then it's fine. And that's actually exactly where we are at. So that's why I feel very positive. From a Relay perspective, I feel very positive about it. And also from a Bitcoin perspective in general, because more regulation doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. It means also more adoption, especially from institutional, bigger investors. That's only because of MiCA and the SEC, making a regulation more clear, is it that we will get an ETF very soon, which again is great for the adoption.
Hi.
Hi.
I already know your service. I use it for my lamp buy. Sometimes whenever the market conditions are good, I use the service. But
thank you.
I want to offer this service to my community. And my question for today is very simple. Firstly, why with your fees that is very low respect an exchange and your safety? Because you are not an exchange. If you failure, my money is safe because it's stored on a hot wallet. I can transfer the fund instantly, no problem, no scams, other stuff. Why you push so low the marketing? Why? Because everybody knows about crypto.com, everybody knows about Binance, but your service is better for me, and your fees are incredibly low respect the other exchange, and whenever I take a wire transfer, after just one day I have my bitcoins buy, no problem. The question is, if I want to make like DCA, I use 1,000 euros for DCA, like 33 euros a day for 1 month, like this. I have to lump sum the money to your platform, and after that you will withdraw 33 euros a day for 30 days, or I have to send 30 wire transfer, one a day, each day. That is a problem for a user, maybe a user like me that wants to make a DCA, but if my bank see that I made 30 wire transfer in a month to a single institution in Switzerland, maybe ask me some questions. This is the question. Is it possible to have a DCA only with a lump sum to you, and I select like 1 month, each day, single one, each week, like this?
No,
you know my answer?
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not possible currently. But I think it's even easier. So you basically just choose a weekly amount, let's say $50 or $100, and then you set up a standing order, or you put in your credit card, and then everything is basically done. There's certain problems of why we don't do it the other way. One is that we would become a custodial, which we don't want to be. It would add risk to the user, and obviously it would also.
But for fiat money, is not crypto. If you do something wrong with fiat money, I can. Maybe say something.
Yeah,
and
that's
that
only
way,
one.
Maybe it's better for the users. You can reach more people because it's not complicated. Like send 1 week every week of the month one wire transfer to your platform. Yeah, it's only a question, not.
Yeah, one point to do this. The other requirement is also from a bank point of view. So usually there is no way how you can do a daily standing order. Some banks don't even do weekly standing orders, so only monthly ones. Weekly usually is good, but daily is very hard from it. So that's why a lot of people would not understand how to do this even, or couldn't do this. So we have found that most people will just want to have a weekly or a monthly auto invest, and that's also enough actually. Weekly is a bit better than monthly in terms of driving the dollar cost average effect, but then daily and weekly doesn't make a huge difference. So
okay, and I noticed that the big difference is that if I do a DCA, I have a discount on the fee, and it's a win-win situation for all the people, for my users and for your platform, because you have a cash flow. And
exactly.
Yeah.
That's why we do it. And in terms of marketing, actually, it's interesting that you think we are not doing enough marketing. I think we're doing great. Like the marketing team is doing a great job. But maybe there are two reasons why we are not known more, because we're around for more than 3 years already. But you're right, not everyone, especially in Italy and France, probably knows about us. There's one reason is that it takes a lot of budget. So Crypto.com, Binance, Coinbase, Bitpanda that you mentioned, they're all billion-dollar companies, and they have like daily marketing budgets of several millions. And we have like a monthly marketing budget of, it's very low, very, very low.
If I want to withdraw the fund from like Crypto.com, Binance, other stuff, I pay like for 1,000 euros, like 50.
If I want to withdraw the fund from this platform, I have to pay like 20 euros, 50 euros plus the market fee. Your platform is very low fee to buy it, and after that is my Bitcoin. It's not custodial Bitcoin.
Absolutely, I agree with you that we are better than Binance.
It's completely no sense to buy on exchange for this reason.
Hell yeah, you're right. But the thing is that they have much more marketing budget than we have. That's why still they have more users and they are well known. This will change, hopefully.
In the future, you project to spend some money for the marketing?
Yes, but we need to raise this money first. We don't have it yet.
Okay.
But yes, absolutely. And there's also a regulatory point again. We can actually, right now with the Swiss license that we have, we are not allowed to do paid marketing, active marketing in all the EU countries. So we can accept users if they find out about us like this.
Reverse solicitation, right?
Exactly, reverse solicitation. But once we have, and we are already in the application process for a MiCA license in France, once we have that, and there's this MiCA regulatory framework actually coming into effect in January 2025, that's when we can start really actively market, and hopefully until then we have also raised a shit ton of money to be able to do that.
I actually have two questions. So, as you said, your fee are quite low. So, I would like to know: is there enough request for your service to keep the company going in the future? In the sense that, is this the only form of revenue that you think can keep the company as it is now? And the second question is, there is like light KYC to buy on Relay, so I don't have to send you my document. I only have to send my bank details because I'm sending money with my bank account. Since you are based in Switzerland, is there anything that prevents you from sending details of your customer to a government if they ask, like, okay, who's from this country is buying from you? Like, is with Switzerland, are you based in Switzerland because it's better from this point of view? Or if you receive an order from a country, it just doesn't make any difference if you're based here or in Germany or in Italy or another country?
Yeah, it does make a difference, not in that respect, but it makes a difference that we can actually only from Switzerland, you can allow this like no KYC or light KYC, as you call it correctly, up to 1K per day and 100K per year. This only works with Swiss law. This would not work in Italy or France in the first place. When it comes to regulators or governments or any other body asking for customer data, they cannot just ask and we give it to them. But if they, so we are not giving out this data. Usually, there is an exception of if they have a clear, like evidence-based claim that this is a criminal activity or whatever, so terrorist financing or anything else, then yes, we would eventually by court be forced to give out this data. But this never happened so far and would be a very, very, very rare case. Usually, definitely not. First question, we are not profitable yet. We are making very good revenues and trading volumes. So you know our fees, and then I will tell you how much trading volume we are doing this year. We will be around 150 million in kind of euro and Swiss francs that is spent on our platform for Bitcoin. So with around 22 people in the team and some other costs, you can maybe make your calculation. We're not quite there yet, but we're close. So I do assume, or we aim for making break even next year. And this is actually also quite normal that, a startup like ours, B2C startup, tech startup that is kind of hard to run and expensive, that the first 5 years you're not profitable as a startup and you depend on investor money. And that's what we do. We have raised 7 million in venture capital in 3 rounds in the last 3 years. And we will raise another 1 or 2 rounds. But then usually after like around 5 years, you get to break even. So you would not have to raise more money, but we will probably continue doing so just to fuel the growth, because we want to bring Bitcoin to more people.
So there is enough requests from customer to keep the business going with this.
Yes.
That was my question, like based on your research,
Yes.
if people want this kind of service compared to instead of going to Binance or another exchange, like do people actually prefer this way, and if you see a growth in the future?
Yes, I think so. So we had phenomenal growth in the last 3 years. We went from 0 to 250,000 app downloads, 80,000 active users, and 150 million in trading volume a year. So I think this has clearly validated that people want this and are using this and are willing to pay for this. And I believe it's gonna continue in the future, and even more so when the next bull run is coming. So I'm very confident about that. Yeah, we're not quite there yet, but definitely in a year or 2, we will make more money than we spend.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a very good question. It's very close to the Bitbox already.
Just a question about market condition. Why do you think the ETF could be like the sell the news event? Why it couldn't be like a sell the news event? For example, the Grayscale ETF would be an event in which most of the shares of this ETF could be sold in that regard. Just to understand your point of view.
Short term, this is very hard to say. Maybe now the price is rising a bit towards this event, and then once the ETFs are approved, then maybe some will sell. And short term, it's really impossible to say what's going to happen. I just think, like principle-based thinking again, and like mid to long run thinking, it can only be positive for the price, because in tendence more money is coming in, so the demand increases and the supply decreases, so the price must go up, like if economic principles don't change. So short term could be a sell the news event for sure. Maybe we'll lose 5 or 10% in one day when the approval is coming. I also don't think so, because we had this fake news. We had this fake news where we could basically have a try on what will happen, and basically within 1 hour the price jumped 9%. And since then, actually, it was fluctuating, but it's actually around at the same level again. So it helped. So this showed that probably when the actual news will come, price will rather go up quite steeply than down. But you never know what's going to happen. In the short run, you can be pretty sure what's going to happen in the mid to long run. And I think it's just the indicators are very clearly showing into north.
Thank you very much for the presentation. One question would be, you talked a lot about DCA and also about the fluctuation in or the volatility. Did you consider offering advanced DCA strategy which leveraged on volatility, so that you don't just buy it at a certain time, but that you can really buy in a certain range in 1 week, or so that you really buy the lows or whatsoever?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. We have actually thought about this at the beginning a little bit, but because we are really on a mission to onboard as many people as possible to this, I think we need to choose which complications we are doing and which ones not, and this would be a thing that would be nice for a very small amount of users. Like you would be a bit more advanced maybe, but like 90% of the users would be afraid to use something like that because it would be too complicated. And so we always maximize for simplicity. And the simplest yet most effective strategy is just, passively DCAing with the same amount, and that's it. I think there are other tools that are better suited for more advanced users like you, for example, where you can basically do some more advanced trading strategies, I would say. We are really here for the newcomers, the 90% of the people that are not into Bitcoin yet, and for them, just a simple DCA, I think, is enough and is the best match.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, here. So because of the services you offered and what they asked before, so I have two doubts. First is is your service also offered for non-Swiss residents? And the second one will be, how could you reassure that person to, for example, even if you are a non-custodial wallet, how could you reassure that person to, hold their sats in your wallet? So that will be. Thanks.
We are open to all European countries right now. So we're based in Switzerland, which is not in the EU, but still we can, that's again the reverse of the station thing, we can offer the service to all European countries, and we have actually active users from 40 different countries. Our main market is actually Germany. So this works, but we cannot actively market and acquire customers there. But yes, we are open to also non-Swiss residents, currently just limited to Europe for regulatory reasons as well. And the second question was?
How could you reassure that someone.
So it's very easy, the user interface, user journey is very easy. It tells you in the app basically what to do. There's a notification saying, hey, you need to back up your seed words, you need to write down these seed words, keep them safe, not online, etc., etc. So it's very easy, easily communicated to the person what to do. But also there's obviously room for improvement, which we will work on. For example, an option with a cloud backup that within a couple of clicks you can take your private keys out, but you can also save them in a cloud and encrypt them in a secure way. So even if you lose your phone and your seed somehow, you can still access your funds. So this is also something that the holding of the Bitcoin in non-custodial way is also something that we are making easier moving forward.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thanks for your speech. I have another question regarding KYC and AML, similar to the previous one. In your personal point of view, it's better for a user to use, for example, an app like Relay instead of a
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't know. Instead, for example, like a protocol like BISC or something similar, because, as he said, when I make a buy on Relay, actually I'm sending money to an institution and not to an individual. And for example, I'm not from Switzerland, so maybe in the future it can be a problem. And with BISC,
Yeah.
sending to an individual. So
Yeah, very good point. And I think it's important that on this spectrum, a lot of different services exist, like BISC, for example, but it always comes with compromises. So BISC is for, and it really, so to answer your question, it really depends. It depends on what you want. If you want privacy more than anything else, then Relay is better than others, better than, for example, Coinbase, where you need to do full KYC, but it's not as good as BISC. BISC is like peer-to-peer, fully transparent, not transparent, fully privacy-oriented. But at the same time, it's less user-friendly. So I think if you look for a compromise between simplicity and user-friendliness and privacy, then yes, we are the best option out there in the market currently. If you want to optimize for simplicity, yes, we are the best option. If you want to optimize for privacy, we're not the best option. There are better ones like physical ATMs, for example, or BISC, HODL, or any decentralized peer-to-peer alternatives.
But with BISC, you can't use fiat money to buy crypto, or to buy Bitcoin. So wasn't that right? With BISC, you can't use fiat money to buy Bitcoin. Oh, yeah, use fiat on BISC.
I think you can, yeah.
I use bank transfer for fiat instead of
Just basically sending the money directly to another user, and this user sends you Bitcoin.
There are some features on BISC that prevent you from discounting.
Hi. Do you have some information to give us with the beta version of Lightning Wallet? And
This guy gets the T-shirt.
I already have one. Is it gonna look more like Phoenix or Blue Wallet, for example?
So how it's gonna look like? It's best to subscribe to the beta version, and in like 2 weeks you can find out yourself how it exactly looks like. Basically, how it will look like is there is one balance, and then you have an on-chain and a Lightning wallet, and you can swap between on-chain and Lightning. So basically, let's say you have a balance of $100, and you can have like $70 on-chain as kind of your savings account, and you can have $30 on Lightning for your spending, sending and receiving. Now, with the version that was announced today and will be rolled out soon, is that you can just have these two wallets, and then you can swap between them, and you can send and receive to other Lightning wallets and on-chain wallets, of course. So in that regard, it would probably be like actually a mix between the two you mentioned, Blue Wallet and Phoenix. And then in the long run, let's say Q1 next year, the next thing that will be rolled out is that you can also buy and sell directly from and to Lightning. So that enables you to buy the dip right now using credit card, for example, and within a couple of seconds you get the sats. Like instantly, 24/7, within less than a minute you can buy Bitcoin and actually get them into your non-custodial Lightning wallet. That would be kind of the long-term vision that we actually set out to achieve more than 3 years ago. In, let's say, 3-4 months, it will actually be reality.
Perfect, thanks.
One last question, and I think there's another speaker in 3 minutes.
That's a simple one. So you sold me with the presentation. I downloaded the app. Can I get a referral invite or a discount code, whatever it is called in the app?
Of course, you can use Relay. RELAI.
Okay, that works.
That's and you get 0.5%. You get 0.5% a fee discount, and I get 0.5% of everything you invest.
That works.
You can actually do this yourself. So you also, now that you're a Relay user, you have a referral code that you can share with your friends. Whenever they buy Bitcoin through Relay, they get 0.5% less in fees, and you get 0.5% of everything they invest.
Thanks.
Thank you guys for all the questions. Appreciate it.